In this class, we basically do two things. We learn a lot of terms, you know, like what's this stuff, and then we learn a lot of how does something function, how do these things we learn work together. And so we do have terminology that we need to memorize, and concepts that we need to understand and then commit to memory. So what's important, I think, is that we want to learn as efficient as we can. So the first thing with that, as far as I'm concerned, is you need to have fun with it. Not lazy fun, watch TV fun, but fun, look, that's kind of cool stuff. Wow, I didn't know that. So for example, terminology, do you know what an artery is? What's an artery? Pulse what? Yes. It's a vessel that has some blood in it. Well, but an artery, actually, if you look at the terminology, it means air holder. Because when they dissected cadavers, there's no blood in those things. They're dead. So the blood just goes out of the vessel. So they didn't know, so they thought it was holding air. That's kind of interesting to know that. And guess what? Now you probably remember that. Because it has some funky little thing with it. Or what's another one? Genital. Ooh. Talk about that. That means Genesis. Oh, now we're talking about the Bible. Oh my goodness, how did that? But that means creation. So guess what? The human is created using the genitals. Well, guess. Okay. Carotid. Is a carotid artery is right in here, goes into the head, into the brain. Carotid means stupor. Because if you hold it and press it, you go and you fall asleep. And so they made it turn back. So that's kind of cute. Uterus. You know what the word uterus means? Hysteria. Because guys thought, you know, people with a uterus have too much anxiety. And so let's take it out, so we do a hysterectomy to get rid of the hysteria. So of course it didn't work, right? But then, to be fair, you know what penis means? Tail. Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, if we make a little fun with it and it makes it a little easier, we create mnemonics. But we got these terms, we just got to kind of commit to memory. And then the concepts we also need to understand and then commit to memory. How do we do that best? When we look at how we absorb, how we remember things, if we're just reading something, it's very minimal. I don't like to read books, so I kind of go, okay with it. When we only hear something, it's about 20%. When we see something, like on a picture, the picture is worth 1,000 words. Better remembering. So using pictures is very good. One of the things I ask you to do in your textbook is look at the pictures and read the captions. Because often that's much easier than reading the darn text. It's like, what the heck is that? It's not easy stuff to read. We get a very decent thing. If we see something and we hear, it's about 50%. If we write it down, it goes up. That's good. So I like to write with my hands, not with a computer as much, because there is more remembering through the handwriting. The next generation is maybe the typing, but us is not there. And then, of course, the best retention I have the best retention because I'm actually teaching it. And so that helps us the best. So when we do something and perform a task, we remember it best. So playing a game with it or debating about a topic with another person. I love that. Arguing, you know, about it. That's great. So we actually learn by doing that or explaining it to somebody else or making a presentation. Those are things that make us recall what we've learned much, much better. Retrieval exercises, which are basically you asking yourself a question and you don't give yourself the answer. You're looking for it. That's very helpful. They have found that learning fast and easy to learn. It's a little painful. You have to be diligent at first. This German guy in the 70s came up with this thing called the Leitner system of memorizing. So this is basically a way of making flashcards. And I'm a big advocate for flashcards. And the reason why I'm a big advocate for flashcards is because flashcards help us organize material well, and it helps us choose the material that we don't know yet and study that versus the stuff we've already known. So I like that a lot. So I have a simple concept. I could ask, what is anatomy, or what is physiology, a concept, or I could have draw a picture of a humerus and have a doc and say, what's this called? And I put that on one side. This question is epithelial tissue. You don't know that. Some of you probably do, but don't worry about it. I just have a question, and on the other side I have an answer. Here I wrote it, and I also draw it. That's just an example that way I do. Because I have a hard time studying stuff. I need all the help I can get. And I did, I can teach you now, so it's okay. But then when we have a card, 3x5, 4x6, I like 4x6 because I can put a little more on it, a little more leeway with it. Then I put that material, those cards, if I made them, I put them in a shoebox. And the shoebox has sections. The first section is a little smaller, second section, blah, blah, bit bigger. As we go along, we have about 5 sections. And I put that card in this first, or actually what I do is the cards that I don't know yet, I take them and I put them in my pocket on a clip. Then during the day, I look at the card and I read the card and I learn the card and I associate something with it and I give myself time to absorb it. But this is much easier than if I have a sheet of paper and I got all these data points on me as a highlighter and I'm going to the store like, what was that again? Oh, I know that. Well, let me go to it. And so I do not want to do that. That's a waste of my time. Because once I have it on a system like that, it's much easier. So during the day, I study that stuff and I get better at it. And then in the evening, I test myself. And I look at all the questions and I look at the answers. Now again, I'm a knucklehead, so I have to write down the answer because I don't trust myself. And plus, it reinforces the writing. It's good. It reinforces that retrieval. And then, great, I know what I did. Then my card goes now from my pocket. Now I put it in the first bin. If I don't know it, I got to keep it in the pocket and look at it if you want. And then, now it's all about testing yourself. So now the first section, you test yourself once a day. This kind of goes together with the ones I've just learned. When I know the ones in here, and I say, yes, I got that right, I go to section number 2. And then section number 2, I only review twice a week. So because I already know those cards, so I'm thinking I probably know those better than the ones I didn't know. So I don't have to look at it that much. And so, section 2, I test myself twice a week. If I know it, it goes to section 3. That's great. Section 2, what did I say? I test myself once a week. I made that for myself. So I test myself once a week on Sunday. Great. The ones I know, they all go then to section 4. Section 4, I test myself twice before the test. Then I go to section 5 and I call it storage. And my tests are not cumulative. So in section 5 can be the garbage can. Kind of done with it. Although I threw all my cards away from chiropractic school in a ceremony, and I'm so mad at myself. This is a lot of work. The problem though is, if you test yourself and you don't know your answer, this card goes back into your pocket and starts again from the fresh start in the beginning. And that I have found. But chiropractic is like 30 units, so you got a lot of work. And I found this has helped me tremendously, and I had so much anxiety about the whole thing, I got a straight 4.0 from chiropractic school, because I studied so hard, ask her. So I put a document up that talks about this. This is one of the first things that I will ask you to talk to me about, in case you say it's too hard, I don't know what to do about it. I'll still talk to you and try to make it easier, but if you're having a hard time in the test and you're not doing this or other methods that help, well, then we're going to have to look at that and say, maybe we got to shift some study habits. So I wanted to bring this up before we start.